Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about range estimating. It's something I've been working on. I've done a number of videos on range estimating. If you look at that ship over there, like when I first came out to it, right, took a quick look at it. I thought it was like 300 yards, okay? And that's not what it was. That ship is at about 1,000 yards, okay? And the reason I know is because I've got my rangefinder with me, okay? So that's at 1,000 yards. Well, I said, fine, if that ship is at 1,000 yards, how about this one over here? Obviously, that's a lot closer, right? Well, that one's also at 1,000 yards, okay? So both these ships are at 1,000 yards. The difference is, the reason why this ship looks closer is because there's a pier. You see the end of the pier between, where our point of view and the object. So the fact that there's an object, a large object between us and what we're looking at, it makes that look closer compared to that. But both these ships are at 1,000 yards on the rangefinder. So that basically highlights why you need to basically practice your range estimating on known objects, right? On things that you know the size of. So I picked up, and I've been doing a lot of practicing. I picked up a good tip about a year ago off of Shrek's channel, right? The guy's name is, I think his channel is the Sheriff of Baghdad. I invite you guys to go check out his video. Excellent tip on how to range estimate off of the size of people. This is range estimating with the naked eye. Now, the only thing is that you have to kind of fine tune it to your particular eye, right? Because my eyes are probably, my eyes are 51 years old. They're probably not as good as his eyes, okay? He's probably got way better eyes than me. All right, so if you go to his channel, he has a whole list of how he range estimates, and I took his ideas and I basically made, working off the same idea, I made it work for me. So what I came up with, and again, this is by taking the rangefinder and basically coming to an area where I can see lots of people walking at different distances, and I can put the rangefinder on them and I can see and I can observe, right? So the way it works is, if I can see the facial features, right, like the eyes and the nose, kind of like the T. If I can see the T of somebody's face, okay, they are at about 50 yards, which is basically at near the max of my pistol range. Okay, now I normally practice at 65 yards for my distance shooting. However, I'm going to say that, under stress, 50 yards is going to probably be my max. So in order for me to be able to take a shot with a handgun, okay, I need to be able to see the T box, the T, the eyes and the nose. I got to be able to see the distinguishing characteristics of the nose, eyes, and mouth, okay? So that's at about 50 yards, okay? Now, if I can see basically the blank, the white of their face, like not any features, but just on a white person, be able to see his face, they are at 200 yards, okay, or about 200 yards, which means if I can see the white of the face, I can put my dot on it, right? Obviously, if it's working without a magnifier, I can put my dot on the target, and it's basically point of aim, point of impact. I'll either be 4 inches high, 4 inches low, or on target. So from a zero distance all the way out to what would be 200 yards, I just put the dot in the center of the target. And the way I would know that is I would see basically the blank white, their blank white featureless face, okay? Now, of course, this becomes a little bit more difficult if you're looking at a dark-skinned person. I've not figured out how I would do that, okay? Now, the next thing is at 300 yards. What do I see at 300 yards? At 300 yards, what I see is a head, okay? I'm able to see the head, the round head. So the way that works, it works out pretty good, because at 300 yards, basically what I would do is I would put my dot right on top of the head, and then with a 50-yard zero, right, because that's what I'm working with, a 50-yard zero, first zero, 50 yards, second zero, 200 yards. So at 300 yards, if I can see the dot, if I can see their head, I put my dot right on top of their head, and that's going to drop my bullet about 10 inches into the chest, okay? So that's a really easy way for me to remember you know, what's going on at 300 yards. At 300 yards, I know that my holdover is dot right on top of the head, and if I can see the head, perfect, that's where I'm going to put it. Okay, at 400 yards, basically I can see the space between the legs, right? So you know, as people are moving around, walking, there's light between their legs. For me, that's at 400 yards. Okay, at 400 yards, I can see the space between the legs. Again, when Shrek did this, I mean, his eyes are better, so he was a little further out. For me, it's at 400 yards. At 400 yards, I got light between their legs. And at 500 yards, when I look at people, they look like little lines to me. Okay, so to him, they look like triangles. To me, they look like little lines. Okay, so those are the things that I'm looking at to be able to range estimate off of a person at 50 yards, which is pretty much my max pistol range. I can see the distinct features of the face, the T-box, right? The eyes, nose, mouth, you know, basically in a T form, right? I don't see I mean, I can't see the actual eyes, but I can see the form of a T, okay? So that'll get me out to 50 yards, which is kind of like a quick way for me to know wherever I can make that shot with my pistol, okay? So at 50 yards, max pistol range, I'm seeing the T-box. At out to 200 yards, obviously now I'm working with a rifle. If I can see the blank of the face, the blank, no features, it's going to put me out to 200 yards. So I'll put the dot on the target, center mass, point of aim, point of impact. I should be able to hit my target. At 300 yards, right, face disappears. All I see is like a little ball on top of the body, right? It looks like the head, it looks like a tiny little ball. Put the dot right over the head, and I'll drop it 10 inches into the chest, okay? At 400 yards, which is where you got the space, where you can see the space between the legs. Basically over there, the holdover is I hold my dot over the head, like I actually sit it on top of the head. I didn't mention this earlier, but I sit the dot on top of the head. That drops at about, I don't know, something like 24 inches, and I can get center mass hits. At 500 yards, I'm seeing basically all people look like little lines to me, right? Like just little tiny lines. Okay, so when I see little lines, basically I cut the line in half, right? So I take half the measurement of that line, and that's my holdover at 500 yards. Okay, so that's what works for me. I really invite you guys to check out Shrek's channel. I'm going to put a link in the description below, so you guys can go and see the original video. Because this guy, you know, clearly knows his stuff. Excellent tip that he gave here, but you gotta make it work for you, right? So you know, everybody's eyesight is different. You gotta make this work for you. So while I got you guys here, obviously I'm in New York City on some personal business. I've been spending quite a bit of time here. Over there you can see the Statue of Liberty. I don't know how good it's going to look in the camera. Now, the reason, if you couldn't tell that this was New York City, the reason why you can't tell is because the World Trade Center is missing, okay? There's no World Trade Center. There used to be these two beautiful towers right there. Now the New York City is indistinguishable, right? You cannot tell New York City from Chicago or from, you know, Los Angeles or any other city. They all look the same. I mean, I've been down to Rio de Janeiro. It looks the same, right? If you go downtown Rio, it looks the same as, you know, you're looking at it from a distance. It looks the same as what I'm seeing over there. Okay, you can't tell the difference. You go to Athens, Greece, it looks the same. You cannot tell the difference. When you had the World Trade Center, you had two very distinct towers. So I'm very upset with New York for not rebuilding the towers the way they were and maintaining the skyline. Okay, so anyway, I left New York a long time ago. That was part of the reason, not the entire reason, but that was part of the reason. You know. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all soon. Hey everyone, I wanted to give you guys an idea of how to get a sense of how far big things are away from you. Okay, so I'm looking at that ship over there, and this would apply to ships, airplanes. The doors, right? The doors that people pass through tend to be about the same size, right? About 80 inches. So if you start looking for the doors on that ship, you start getting a sense that that thing must be really, really far away. If the doors on that ship are barely noticeable. Okay, so if you look over there, right, you'll actually see the pier that we were standing on earlier about 200 yards in front of us. Okay, so that ship is now whereas before it was 1,000 yards away from us, now it's 1,200 yards away from us, right? On the rangefinder, it's really easy to lose your sense of distance when you're looking at things, really big things, okay, and over open distances. Now, that's the other ship. You see that between the two trees over here? Well, that's the ship that we were looking at the end of the pier, right? That we thought was closer than that ship. Well, both these ships are 1,200 yards away from us, except that because we're now looking at it through the narrow view between the two trees, and also because we're only seeing a part of the ship, that ship looks like it's a lot further away. But both these ships are at 1,200 yards, okay? So that's the thing to look at, right? If you're looking at something big, look for doors, right? Because most doors, right, people the average man is about 6 feet tall, so the doors are about 80 inches tall. So that's going to give you a quick sense of how far something is away from you. So that's like the difference, because again, when I came onto this ship, it looked like it was like maybe 300-400 yards away, but if you zero in on the door, you're going to realize that no, that ship has to be a lot further away, because that door, at 400 yards would be a lot bigger than what I'm seeing. Okay, so it's just something for you guys to practice with. Again, you gotta kind of calibrate it to your eye and to your vision. You gotta get out there and just with a rangefinder and just test these things out. All right. Now, also, that ship seems to have the current seems to have rotated it a little bit. So right now we're looking at the stern of the ship. Right, we're looking at the back of the ship, whereas over there we're seeing the flat of the ship. So that's also, and still, even despite that, despite the fact that over here we're looking at the back of the ship, okay, it still looks like it's closer, just because we're looking at it over a more open area compared to there. So there we can actually see more of the ship, right, because it's sitting flat to us. But because I guess we're looking at it through a much more narrow view, it looks like it's further away to me. So, all right, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Talk to y'all soon.